everyone please be seated? Good afternoon, everyone. We're here today with Woodrow Wilson Middle School in Tampa, Florida, and we have a mock trial presentation. The case that we have today is State of Florida versus Alan Funt. Before we get started, we'll have all the participants introduce themselves. Let's start with the attorneys for the State of Florida.
Woodrow, representing the state. C.C. Supay's state attorney.
I'm Charlie Nash, and I'm representing the state of Florida.
All right, let me have the witnesses for the State of Florida introduce themselves.
Julia Swiger as Devin Baskerville. Landon King, Officer Lee Strad. Hayden Sanchez as Drew Watson.
Thank you. And now will the attorneys for the defendant introduce themselves?
I'm Josephine Belanti, representing the defendant.
I'm Ava Carlson, representing the defense.
My name is Nelson Maddox, and I am representing the defense.
Will the defendant introduce herself?
My name is Wellesley Eckhoff, and I'm Alan Funt.
And now will the other witnesses for the defendant introduce themselves?
I'm Brianna Hurry-Florian, and I am Ashton Michaels.
I'm Ava Hamilton, and I am Dr. Alberta Newman.
Thank you. We also have with us the civics teacher for Wilson Middle School.
Mr. John Ennis.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. At this time, is the State of Florida ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defendant ready for trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
State of Florida may present an opening statement.
May it please the court?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury, this is a case about an elevator leading only to tragedy. My name is Charlie Nash, and together with co-counsel C.C. Supay and Fiore Rusum, we represent the state of Florida in this case against Alan Funt, the defendant. To fully understand this case, we must understand the defendant, Alan Funt. Funt makes a living by playing pranks on people to scare them. She herself will tell you that all her pranks are intended to create fear. She will even say that over the last 2 years, she has designed each one of her projects to be more terrifying than the last. She uses actors to carry out these stunts. However, the victims are not acting or even aware of what's going on. Funt places them in terrifying situations, videos their responses, then posts them on the internet and makes money from it. Now let me tell you about the victim in this case, Miss Charlene Baskerville. Miss Baskerville was a single mother who raised her daughter, Devin, right here in Tampa. She devoted her life to raising Devin. The two were very close and spent all of their time together. Alan Funt's first interactions with the Baskervilles was May 11th. Devin Baskerville and her mother, Charlene, the victim in the case, were walking through the farmer's market. Then, when suddenly actors paid by Alan Funt dressed up as zombies sprung up and started walking towards them. Devin started running and tripped on the curb and broke her ankle. Her mother, Charlene, angry, decided to contact Funt's office and try to reach a settlement before filing any lawsuit. The Baskervilles received an email from Funt's office asking to meet, giving the address of the office and what time to meet. The email also specified that there would be elevators in the lobby. They arrived to the office and saw an out-of-order sign on the normal elevator placed there by Funt's team and knew that they couldn't go up the stairs due to Devin's broken ankle, so they entered the trick elevator. As soon as the door closed, the lights went off, then started flashing, the floor started vibrating and shaking, and Ashton Michael, Funt's lead actor, stepped in dressed as some kind of ghost. Charlene promptly collapsed and was later pronounced dead due to a heart attack. We are here today because Alan Funt's prank went too far, and now Charlene Baskerville, only 57, a mother, a wife, a friend, is dead. For these reasons, I'm confident that after hearing the facts of this case, you will return with a verdict of guilty and hold Alan Funt responsible for the charge of manslaughter.
All right, thank you. And now the defendant may present an opening statement.
May it please the
Yes,
court?
sir.
Counsel, Your Honor, members of the jury. This case is about an innocent prank with unintended consequences. My name is Nelson Maddox, and together with co-counsel Ava Carlson and Josephine Belanti, we represent the defendant in this case, Mrs. Alan Funt. Miss Funt is a film producer that works right here in Tampa. She is very passionate about her art and believes that the study of fear is important to understand the human nature. In her latest work of art, she set up a fake elevator that had an actor dressed up as a ghost inside to scare unsuspecting civilians. This is where Miss Baskerville died. Miss Funt worked hard to have an extremely safe working environment, and previously there was only one minor injury. Miss Funt is being charged with reckless misconduct causing the death of Charlene Baskerville. In order to be charged with that, Miss Funt has to show culpable negligence, which means that she has to know the dangers of her art. We believe that our evidence will show you the rarity of this disease and prove that Miss Funt did not know that her innocent prank would create any danger. Today, you will hear from two expert witnesses who will agree that this disease is very rare and that very little is known about it. The Baskervilles should have expected a prank because they know what Miss Funt does, as they have had prior experience with her art. You will also learn that all of the state's witnesses in this case are biased. Strad and Baskerville don't like Miss Funt, and their expert is being paid. After hearing all the evidence, we believe that you will come to a verdict of not guilty and find that this was just an innocent prank with unintended consequences.
All right, thank you. And now the state of Florida may call its first witness.
The state of Florida would like to call Officer Lee Strad to the stand.
Officer Strad, good afternoon.
Afternoon. May it please the court?
Yes, ma'am, you may proceed.
What is your name?
Officer Lee Strad,
How are you employed?
Tampa Police Department.
How long have you been working for Tampa Police Department?
About 12 years now.
What rank are you?
Sergeant.
Where did you work before Tampa Bay Department?
I worked for the U.S. Army.
For how long?
8 years.
What types of crime do you usually investigate at Tampa Bay Department?
I usually investigate burglary, vandalism, criminal mischief, and on occasions, I will also investigate suspicious deaths.
Let's talk about this case. How did you become involved?
I got a call from, my workforce got a call from a caller saying
And what did the caller say?
saying that a woman had collapsed from an elevator.
And what did you do?
I had gone over to the... Could you restate the question, please?
What did you do once you got the call?
I had gone over to investigate the scene of the crime and interview witnesses.
What did you learn?
That supposedly there was a out of order sign on the elevator, but when I had arrived, there was no out of order sign.
Did you see the deceased?
I did.
Did you interview Devin?
Yes.
Did you interview Funt?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said that she had admitted that this was her idea, and yeah.
Have you had any other experiences with Mr. Funt, Mrs. Funt?
Yes, I have.
Do you see Alan Funt in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Please point to her and identify her by an article of her clothing.
Right there, and she has a blue flower dress.
Did all of these events occur in Hillsborough County?
Yes.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. And the record will reflect that the witness did identify the defendant. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I inquire?
Yes, ma'am.
Officer Lee Strand, you investigate vandalism, don't you?
Correct.
Also burglary
Correct.
and criminal mischief?
Yes,
Only on occasion, you investigate suspicious deaths, correct?
that is correct.
After you arrived to the scene, you tried to talk to Devin Baskerville, Charlene's daughter, right?
Yes.
She was distraught, wasn't she?
Yes.
Isn't it true that after you interviewed the three bystanders, Dwight Dinkla, Harry Shipley, and Cynthia Moser,
Could you restate the question?
after you interviewed Devin Baskerville, you interviewed the three bystanders, correct?
Yes.
The bystanders could only say that there was an out of order sign on the real elevator, correct?
Correct.
So they did not see what happened in the elevator.
Correct.
Next, you interviewed Ashton Michael, right?
Correct.
Is it true that Ashton indicated that the scene before Charlene Baskerville's death was going exactly as planned?
Yes.
When Charlene Baskerville collapsed, Ashton Michael, the actor, just thought she fainted, correct?
Yes.
In your own words, you said that Alan Funt, the director, is arrogant.
Yes.
Also, he is egotistical.
Yes.
Also, completely uncooperative.
Yes.
Officer Lee Stratt, would you say that you have several past interactions with Alan Funt?
Yes.
Would you say you have a negative opinion of Funt?
Yes.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then the witness can step down. And this time, the state of Florida may call its next witness.
State of Florida calls Devin Baskerville.
Ms. Baskerville, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Please state your name and age for the court.
Devin Baskerville, and I am 22 years old.
What is your relation with Miss Baskerville?
Miss Baskerville was my mother.
I see your ankle's broken. Can you tell me in the court how that happened?
You are correct, my ankle is broken, and I was running away from these people, and I thought I was going to get mugged.
Did you see the defendant that day?
I did.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that I am showing the opposing counsel exhibit marked as Exhibit E. May I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
I am showing you a document marked as Exhibit E. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
What is this document?
The email that Funt's assistant sent my mother.
How do you recognize it?
It is the email that Funt's assistant did send my mother, and to reach a, what's the word?
Did your mother show you it?
Yes.
Is the email in the same condition as when you saw it on June 26th?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, we move Exhibit E into evidence.
Is there any objection to this exhibit?
No, Your Honor.
Then the court's going to receive that into evidence as Exhibit E.
May I publish the evidence?
Yes, you may. You may approach the witness, retrieve it, and then approach the jury and publish it.
Could you please read me the last sentence of that evidence?
Yes. There are elevators available in the lobby.
Why did Miss Funt invite you to her office?
To reach an agreement about my ankle.
What day did this meeting occur?
July 2nd, 2020.
Describe what Miss Funt's office looked like when you entered.
It was very nice and open, and we had to get to the elevators because my mom is always a stickler for being punctual.
Could you describe the elevator?
Yes. When we walked in, there was a bank of elevators that were not in order. At least that's what the notes on them said. So we reached a different one.
What happened when the doors closed?
When the doors closed, there was only one light in the elevator. It was flickering a little bit, and it was quite open.
Did you feel the elevator start having mechanical issues?
I did.
Then what happened?
When my mother pushed the button for the third floor, which was where Funt's office was, I felt that the elevator was shaking a little bit.
Were you the only one in the elevator?
No, I was not. It was me, my mother, and this figure.
Tell me about this figure.
They were dressed as a ghost, and it freaked me out.
How did you react?
I originally screamed and then moved forward to protect my mother.
What did your mother do?
At first I thought she fainted, but apparently she passed.
No further questions.
All right. Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
May I inquire?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to the death of your mother, you had read about Alan Funt in the newspaper, correct?
Yes, I did.
You knew that Funt was in the business of staging stunts and pranks, didn't you?
I do.
You have even researched about her and found out that she does a lot of stunts on unsuspecting people, right?
That is correct.
You also knew this because you were involved in one of Funt's many stunts, correct?
Yes.
Which led to you breaking your ankle?
Yep.
So, you're telling me you knew all this information before going into her office?
That is correct.
You wanted to sue Alan Funt for breaking your ankle, correct?
Yes.
You wanted to shut her down, didn't you?
Yes.
You would not consider Funt's work art.
No, I don't.
You think Funt is a joker.
Yes.
Alan Funt struck you as arrogant.
Yes, she does.
You think Funt is smug.
Mm-hmm.
You believe she's filled with a really inflated sense of self-importance.
I do.
You don't like her clothes.
No.
You don't like the way she talks.
No.
You would describe her as an entitled, rich snob.
Yes.
You also don't really like the fact that she's from California.
That is correct.
So it's fair to say that you don't necessarily like Alan Funt, right?
Yep.
It would also be fair to say that you have a bias against her, wouldn't it?
I guess that is correct.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Even though you knew this evidence, you still did not expect Funt to play another prank on you.
No.
Because your ankle was already broken, so it would have just added up to be more?
Yes.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. And this time, the witness may step down.
Thank you.
And the state of Florida may call its next witness.
The state calls Dr. Drew Watson to the stand.
Dr. Watson, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
May it please the court?
Yes, sir.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Drew Watson, Dr. Drew Watson,
How old are you?
39 years old.
Please tell us about your professional background.
I have a bachelor's degree in science from Tabard University and a medical doctor's degree from Drake University.
Do you have any licenses?
I am licensed to practice with medicine in Iowa and Florida and Massachusetts.
Do you have any certifications?
I'm certified by the American Board of Cardiology.
Where do you currently work?
I currently work at the Russell Godkin Cardiology Center at Drake University Hospital.
Your Honor, we request that this witness be permitted to give opinion testimony.
Court's going to agree and find that based on his knowledge and education and experience that he's qualified to give opinion testimony in the area of cardiology. You may continue.
Do you work with any doctors or researchers?
Yes, I work with Dr. Samuel, who is also known as Dr. Death, for his study and research in sudden death.
Have you developed any specialties in your work?
Yes, I grew an interest in Takotsubo syndrome.
What is Takotsubo syndrome?
It's a Japanese term for octopus chop, as when it triggers in a person, the heart lopsides and it resembles an octopus chop.
What causes the syndrome to trigger?
What triggers it is mostly too much adrenaline in the body that is usually more than a normal person's.
How much more do people with this syndrome usually get?
Usually about 14 times more than usual.
Is there a danger to getting so much adrenaline?
It can lead to failure in your organs.
What can trigger an adrenaline overload in people who have Takotsubo?
Usually an amount of being in situations where they're overstressed or anything that triggers strong emotions in them, like fear or overexcitedness.
What happens if people with this syndrome feel trapped?
It can usually lead to it triggering, and most likely the effects of it are that they can, at most times, damage their limbs and they can pass out.
What is your opinion of what happened in this case?
What I think happened is that Charlene Baskerville's Takotsubo syndrome triggered, and it scared her practically to death.
Were all of your opinions reached within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, cross-examination.
May I inquire?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that stress cardiomyopathy is a very rare condition?
Yes.
And it is impossible to predict this reaction, isn't it?
No.
Is it correct that in your lifetime you have only studied about 250 cases?
Correct.
And this equates to only about a dozen patients per year, right?
Yes.
Would it be true to say that people with underlying heart disease could be more predisposed to this condition?
Yeah.
Did you ever personally examine Ms. Baskerville prior to her death to know that she did not have any pre-existing heart conditions?
I did not.
Isn't it correct that some people are genetically predisposed to Takotsubo?
Yes.
So there is no way to test this, and any studies are only in their infancy, correct?
Correct.
So this means that we will not have answers and further knowledge on this condition for a long, long time, correct?
Yes.
And any strong, positive, or negative emotion can cause an abnormal heart rhythm, correct?
Yes.
So a person with strong emotional experiences is more prone to this, aren't they?
They are.
And there is no way that a non-medical person or even a doctor can anticipate who will experience this very rare response, is there?
That is correct.
No further question.
All right. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then the witness may step down. And the state of Florida may call its next witness.
The state rests.
All right, the state of Florida has now rested, so the defendant may now present her case in chief, and the defendant may call her first witness.
The defense calls Ashton Michael to the stand.
Ms. Michael, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
May it please the court?
Yes, ma'am.
State your name.
Ashton Michael,
Where do you live?
Tampa, Florida.
What is your occupation?
I work as a lead actor in Alan Funt's scare projects.
How and when did you start acting?
I started acting in grade school and kept at it since.
What is your family background of acting?
My mother played small roles in the local theater, and my dad acted as a ghost in my life since it was like he was never there.
How did you meet Alan Funt?
I met Alan Funt when I auditioned for her first project. She was so impressed with my work, she added me as a permanent addition to her crew.
What happened during the production of The Zombie Chase?
Me and a few other actors would dress as zombies and chase people who came down the alley where we set up. In one of those later takes, this couple, which I later found out were the Baskervilles, came down, and we chased them. Devon Baskerville tripped and broke her ankle.
What happened when you helped her to a hospital?
She kept muttering about suing us and keeping us from doing it again.
When did Funt's latest project take place?
It took place the week of July 1st, 2020.
What was included in the project?
There was a fake elevator that would cause the lights to go out and it would shake. Miss Funt had me dressed as a ghost, and with singed clothes and wear makeup that made my face look like it had been smashed.
How would the fail-safe operate?
We would call in a custodian who would take off the out of order sign on the auxiliary elevator and tell the targets that the elevator was no longer in service.
How did you know when to appear in the elevator?
I wore an earpiece that Miss Funt could contact me on.
What happened when the elevator doors opened after you scared the Baskervilles?
I rushed around to see if I could help. I've seen people faint, so I just thought that was what happened here. But then Mrs. Baskerville wouldn't get up, so I checked her pulse and I found nothing. I called for someone to call 911, and when the paramedics got there, Charlene Baskerville was gone.
Has this ever happened before?
No, usually people tend to laugh it off later and are actually pretty proud that they're in a popular film.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
May I inquire?
Yes, ma'am.
Alan likes to play pranks, doesn't he?
Yes.
And she often takes these pranks too far, correct?
Yes.
There's a prank involving Devin Baskerville. Is that right?
Yes.
It involved people dressed as zombies running down an alleyway and scaring people.
Yes.
And Devin Baskerville got injured on that prank.
Yes.
And that led to Alan Funt negotiating a settlement with Charlene Baskerville.
Yes.
Would you say that Funt seemed angry about the situation?
That is correct.
And so Alan Funt invited the Baskervilles to this office.
Yes.
And that brought them to a set of yet another prank.
Yes.
Miss Funt wanted them to go on a fake elevator and be scared.
That is correct.
Alan seemed more excited than usual.
Yes.
She told you 3 or more times to make it your scariest prank ever.
Yes.
You could tell Devin was freaked out.
Yes.
You backed away from her.
Yes.
Yeah, Alan told you to proceed.
That is correct.
Miss Funt likes to push pranks past the point where they should be stopped, doesn't she?
Yes.
At this time, she told you to give everything and not hold back.
Yes.
She threatened to fire you, didn't she?
Yes.
So you gave it everything you had, didn't you?
Yes.
You did not hold back.
No.
And that is when you saw Charlene drop to the elevator ground.
Yes.
But Alan kept the prank going.
Yes.
At the ending point, you went to feel Charlene's pulse.
Yes.
Yet there was none?
Yes.
No further questions.
Thank you. Any read around?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then the witness may step down, and the defendant may call her next witness.
The defendant calls Dr. Alberto Woodrow to the stand.
Dr. Milgram, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
May it please the court.
Yes, sir.
What is your name?
Dr. Alberta Milgram.
What is your profession?
I am a professor at SFU.
What do you teach?
Social psychology.
Do you have a lot of experience in this topic?
In addition to my status as professor, I am also the director of the Joseph Feller Anxiety and Phobia Center, which is the premier research and diagnostic center in North America.
Your Honor, at this time, we ask that this witness is to be permitted to give opinion testimony.
Court's going to find, based on her knowledge, training, experience, that the witness is qualified to give opinion testimony in the areas of anxiety and phobias.
How are you involved in this case?
I was hired to analyze this case and give opinions on the science of fear.
What did you analyze? What did you do to analyze the case?
I talked to Ms. Funt and read the witness reports.
What do you know about Ms. Funt's work?
Ms. Funt's work has provided new areas of online forum of new areas of social psychology research and more generally the human condition.
Please explain to the jury why humans experience fear.
It has evolved through evolution.
How has it evolved?
The idea of fear started as a cultural social construct, but in modern times it has become something an individual must face by themselves rather than a group.
Do people enjoy fear?
While the physical reaction to fear is the same, fear can be perceived as either negative or positively.
So, is there a difference between positive and negative stimuli?
Negative stimuli tend to be produced more quickly and easily rather than as intense positive ones.
After analyzing this case, do you have an opinion as to the cause of Charlene Baskerville?
Charlene Baskerville died as a result of frightening stimuli, but I do not believe that Miss Funt could have known that that would happen because there's simply not enough information to know what would have caused someone to go into a fight or flight reaction.
So, is there any way to predict what might trigger an effect of this size?
Negative stimuli tend... There's no way, there's simply not enough information to know what would have triggered her to go into a fight or flight.
Did Charlene's health condition play any role in her sudden fear-stimulated heart attack?
Not in this particular case, but there are cases of perfectly healthy young people dropping dead from extreme stimuli.
What exactly are the symptoms of fear stimuli?
Increased sweating, rapid breathing, tenseness or trembling of the muscles.
Was there any indication in this case that Miss Funt could have known how Miss Baskerville would have reacted?
As I said before, there's simply not enough information to know.
And were all of your opinions reached within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
Yes.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Milgram, you were asked to provide your expertise on fear in this case, isn't that right?
Yes.
And you agree with the medical doctor's finding that Charlene Baskerville died as a result of frightening stimuli, correct?
Yes.
Dr. Milgram, it would be true to say that people can react in the same general way when faced with frightening stimuli, correct?
Yes.
For example, most people experience heavy or rapid breathing,
Yes.
tenseness or trembling of muscles,
Yes.
heavy sweating,
Yes.
and even increased heart rate.
Yes.
Dr. Milgram, is it fair to say that you are an expert in fear, correct?
Yes.
As well as anxiety,
Yes.
phobias?
Yes.
However, wouldn't it also be true that you have absolutely no official training or degrees in the medical field?
Yes.
Dr. Milgram, isn't it true that you had lengthy conversations with Alan Funt during the case?
Yes.
But isn't it further true that you had known Alan Funt before you were asked to consult in this case?
Yes.
You regularly visit her website Fear Factor, don't you?
Yes.
And you watch her videos posted on her website Fright Night, correct?
Yes.
Isn't it true that you follow her on Twitter?
Yes.
And isn't it even true that you are friends with her on Facebook?
Yes.
So it's fair to say that you like Alan Funt and her work, correct?
Yes.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Even though people have similar symptoms to fear stimuli, is it true that different people react differently to various stimuli? Or different people have different, like some people are afraid of the dark, others are afraid of spiders or snakes?
Yes.
And isn't it true that, and even though you have had prior relations with Mrs. Funt, has that affected your ability to have an unbiased opinion in this case?
Not at all.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. And the witness may step down. This time, the defendant may call her next witness.
The defendant is going to testify.
Ms. Funt, do you understand you have an absolute right to remain silent in this case?
I do.
You have an absolute right not to testify. You understand that?
Yes.
And it's your decision to make, not your attorney's. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to talk to her about the decision about whether or not you want to testify?
I have.
Do you need any more time to talk to her?
I don't.
Is it your decision that you're going to testify today?
Yes.
All right, please come forward.
May it please the court?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your name?
Alan Funt.
How old are you?
30.
What do you do for a living?
I record short videos and upload them to frightnight.net.
Tell us about your films.
They're short films with the purpose to get people's true reactions to different fears like the dark and heights and ghosts.
Why do you make films about fear?
I want to see people's natural and true and honest reactions to fear, with fear to different things.
Is safety important for your job?
Of course.
Let's talk about the Baskerville family. Have you met them before?
Yes, I have.
When did you see them next?
The first time I saw them was when I was recording the film Zombie Chase when Devin tripped and broke her ankle. And the second time is when we were trying to discuss what we would do about it.
Did you know Devin and Charlene were coming to serve you the lawsuit?
I did not. The people who work for me set it up without telling me.
Did you have any idea that Charlene would react the way she did to your scare?
I did not.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law before?
I have not, but I have butted heads with Officer Lee Strad.
Would you say this cop would have some bias against you?
I would.
Were there any signs that Charlene was about to collapse immediately before?
There wasn't.
Was this injury caused directly by your actor?
No, he didn't touch either of them.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I inquire?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it true that you threatened Ashton that she would lose her job if she did not take on the acting part of the prank?
For this one, I did not recall, but I did pressure her to go as hard as she could.
Didn't you tell Ashton to make this her scariest performance yet?
Yes, I did.
Wouldn't you expect more drastic effects on the victim by stating this?
No, since this has never happened before.
You have had experiences with the police with your pranks in the past, haven't you?
Yes, but I've never been arrested before.
Your participants in your pranks your participants are in your pranks without their consent. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Haven't you been warned by Officer Lee Strad that something like this incident would happen?
I have.
Is it true that the reason you continue with this reckless and dangerous pranks are because you believe it is art?
It is.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were there any injuries on this elevator before?
No, there wasn't.
Did you believe that this film presented a danger to anyone?
I did not.
Did you intend for the Baskervilles to get onto the elevator on the set for the film?
No.
No further questions.
All right, thank you, and the witness may step down.
Thank you.
And at this time, the defendant may call her next witness.
The defense rests.
Both sides have now rested and presented their cases in chief, so now it's time for closing arguments. First, a closing argument for the state of Florida.
May it please the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, member of the juries, my name is Fiora Bruce. I'm representing the state in this case. The death of Miss Charlene Baskerville has been caused by Alan's neglectance of safety. If she had taken the proper precautions, Miss Charlene Baskerville would still be with us today. Her reckless conduct had already injured Devin Baskerville previously. She had also been warned by law enforcement many times before in the past. However, she has never listened to them. This prank was the last straw. The elevator led only to tragedy. She is ruthless in her art, willing to make sacrifices like Miss Charlene Baskerville's death. The evidence against Alan Funt very clearly shows that she is willing to do anything for her art.
She said it herself. Great art requires great sacrifice, but is a person's death a needed sacrifice? She was going to fire Miss Ashton Michael for trying to help Charlene Bakersville as she collapsed. During Miss Michael's performance, she hesitated after seeing the horror of Devin Bakersville's face in the elevator and Miss Charlene collapse. Miss Funt told her to keep going and to make it her scariest performance yet, intending for Charlene and Bakersville to suffer more fear. After the performance, when Miss Michael went to help the Baskervilles, Miss Funt's first reaction was anger. Then their second was to fire her. On top of that, Miss Funt has been warned by Officer Lee Strad many times in the past to stop what she was doing before something went wrong. However, because Miss Funt's reckless nature, she never listened. Not only that, according to Officer Strad, Miss Funt has been arrested for trespassing, destruction of property, and criminal mischief in the past. She didn't learn from her mistakes, but instead showed it off on her website as a badge of honor. Furthermore, when the Baskerville threatened to sue Miss Funt, she tried to make the problem go away by throwing money at it. When the Baskervilles did not take up the offer, she invited them to her office. She had said she was going to work out their problems. She didn't follow through with her offer. It was a lie to attract Baskervilles to the trap she had set in the office building where she had invited the Baskervilles. What she did was not at all right, and she was targeting the Baskervilles for one of her films. The action of Alan Funt on July 2nd, 2020 were reckless, inhumane, and overall wrong. Alan Funt had set a prank in the fake elevator and had trapped the Baskervilles inside the elevator, leading to Miss Charlene's Baskerville's death. For these reasons, the state of Florida asks you to find the defendant guilty of homicide and reckless misconduct.
All right, thank you. And now a closing argument for the defendant.
May it please the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury. What happened to Charlene Baskerville was simply an innocent prank with unintended consequences. Alan Funt is a hard-working artist whose passion is capturing fear on film. On July 2nd, she was filming her upcoming project. She had no idea of anyone coming to meet with her, and so therefore had no idea to switch back the out-of-order signs on the elevators. Before Charlene and Devin Baskerville entered the prop elevator, Ashton Michael was told to give it all she got from Funt. When Charlene collapsed in the elevator, Alan Funt just thought she fainted. Soon after, the police were called, but Charlene was already gone. The prosecutors called Officer Lee Strad, The prosecutors called Officer Lee Strad, Devin Baskerville, and Dr. Drew Watson as witnesses. Officer Strad has had several negative experiences with Alan Funt that have led to Strad to have a bad opinion of Alan Funt. Strad also wasn't there when the incident happened. Devin Baskerville, as said by Officer Lee Strad, was very distraught and, according to herself, doesn't remember much after the elevator opened and she called for help. And as my co-counsel said, Dr. Drew Watson was paid. This proves that the witnesses that the state called are biased. The state has not proven beyond reasonable doubt that Alan Funt is guilty of manslaughter. The defendant was never intending to hurt anybody. In fact, Mrs. Funt ensures that her work environment is safe and no one besides the Baskervilles have ever been injured in any project. Alberta Milgram testified that Charlene's condition is very real, very rare, and very unpredictable. This means Alan Funt couldn't have known or prepared for Charlene's condition. Also, the Baskervilles should not have been surprised by the prank, since they did know that where they were going was to a prank office and that their last interaction with Mrs. Funt was a prank as well. Overall, Alan Funt never purposely harmed anybody. Instead, it was just an innocent prank with unintended consequences. The judge will explain that to prove manslaughter, the state has to prove culpable negligence. In other words, the act of a defendant knowing that their act could cause death or great bodily injury. In this case, the rare disease that Drew Watson only sees 12 times a year couldn't have been known by Mrs. Funt, since Mrs. Baskerville wasn't aware she even had it herself. For these reasons, we will ask you to return the only fair verdict, which is in favor of defendant Alan Funt.
All right, thank you. Any rebuttal?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then thank you, everyone. That concludes our trial.